Well, if you guys want to get a really good review of this, head on over to the site, read my written review. It's all there for you.
It's true.
But with Star Trek Into Darkness, it starts off a couple years after the original film, and our intrepid crew of the USS Enterprise is in a planet in the Nibiru system. A volcano is about to go off, and if it does, then the native inhabitants of that planet are going to die and go extinct. And so Captain James T. Kirk and crew decide that they're going to save them. But in the doings of that, Spock's life is jeopardized. The Prime Directive is broken. Much ado is made about Kirk's his inability to restrain himself. He thinks he can do no wrong. He does whatever he feels like he needs to, and that's just not the way Starfleet does things. Meanwhile, that you see there is a explosion from a terrorist bombing at a Starfleet facility that seems to have this person named John Harrison's involvement in it. Who is John Harrison? Why did he do this? And now a posse of captains and their crew get together to discuss what's going to happen with Admiral Marcus. Suddenly, shots go off. Every captain basically gets shot up, which just happens to leave our nice Captain James T. Kirk to go back to his Enterprise and give chase. I really tried to do that without giving any spoilers. I think I managed to do so. Fellas, we have all seen this movie. I've actually seen it twice. Have any of you seen it twice this weekend?
Not this weekend. But
okay, so I'm obviously the best person to talk about this film. You guys can go take a break. Story-wise, what did you guys think? Did the trailers give away too much? Did you know too much going in? Or even though we're not going into the spoilers now, were you surprised? And don't tell us how you were, but were you actually surprised by directions this movie went?
The trailers really did a very good job of getting you excited about it, but yet not revealing a whole lot. I don't think anybody really knows who one of my favorite current actors, Benedict Cumberbatch, is. You don't know really what all's going on. You know there's a whole lot of shit's getting blown up. You don't know why. You got all the pretty pictures, all the excitement, all the action, show the faces that people are familiar with, but you don't really see a whole lot about what the movie is about. So I thought it was great. I actually also think that, and I kind of maybe talk about this a little bit later, towards the end of it, it does a good job of almost feeling like the movie's over, but then bam, there's like another 20 minutes.
I was entertained from beginning to end. This was over 2 hours, and I did not even realize it. It was just so entertaining. It had everything: action, drama, comedy, emotion, pretty much everything you want in a summer blockbuster.
The one thing I think is funny is when I've talked to people that are Star Trek fans, they tell me how much smarter this is science fiction wise than every other science fiction franchise. I don't understand that. I just watched a couple of the old Star Trek movies. That shit ain't any smarter than this. It's not rocket science. I mean, The Con, great movie, fun movie. It ain't deep. So I don't understand where all that comes from. Mm-hmm. This one, same kind of concept. It's basically a chase movie. The thing about the story that really surprised me is the Kirk-Spock friendship and how that's focused on how even though Spock and Kirk kind of go at each other at one point and they're kind of defining friendship, the fact that they ultimately, regardless of what the previous movie had changed the course of history and whatnot, history is always going to dictate these two belong as friends. And the way that plays out as a real important story element, I think was one of the best parts of the entire script. Yep. And the fact that they kept that together, I think the movie it's a very simple plot, but it's very direct, has a lot of heart. I love some of the turns they took. And no, a lot of the stuff wasn't given away in the trailers, but I kind of knew as soon as like 5 minutes into the movie, I kind of knew exactly who he was.
I'm really glad that Kirk and Spock's relationship was such a focus of the film. Too many people said that the first one was more about the whiz-bang kind of CGI'd stuff and less about the characters. Well, this one was all about character and relationship, whether it's Kirk and Spock, who are, of course, the focal points, but even Spock and Uhura, Pike and Kirk, all of them have their own relationships. I mean, even Cumberbatch John Harrison and Kirk, they even have a little bit of a relationship there that they have to deal with because as opposed as these guys are, they're not as opposite as they might seem to be. So I really enjoyed it. I thought they handled that really well. But that kind of leads right into the performances overall. Was there anybody in this that you really thought knocked it out of the park other than Cumberbatch? Because Jesus Christ, that guy's on the screen and it's like a black hole. Your eyes just locked on it. You can't look away. The guy is powerful.
He's the only thing that distracts me from lens flares.
Well, the thing is that when you've got an actor of his caliber, he raises the performance level of everyone else around him because they know, oh shit, this dude's bringing it. If I don't bring it too, I'm going to look like weak sauce. And so it's great to have someone like him to do that. But how did you guys think the acting went overall?
Chris Pine, I think, is a better Shatner than Shatner. I'll be honest with you. I like him more than I like William Shatner.
Yeah.
I love William Shatner for all the things he does. But Chris Pine has more. He's just more energetic. He seems like a guy I could follow. William Shatner seemed like a guy I'd want to have a beer with and then never see again. Simon Pegg has some great lines. I think he's a great Scotty. The rest of the crew of the Enterprise are fit perfectly. Bones, Carl Urban does a great job. Quinto was the one I didn't like in the first movie. And everybody gives me shit. Well, that's stupid. He was a great Spock. I thought he sucked as Spock in the first movie. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that you had Leonard Nimoy in the movie so much. When you put the real Spock up against Zachary Quinto, he just does not stand out. I'm sorry. He just did not hold his own with Leonard Nimoy. Because Leonard Nimoy, he invented that character, and he made that character work fantastic. He didn't have to say much to convey heart. And Quinto, I think, worked really hard in the first movie to try to get that. This movie, it's all Quinto, and I think he nailed it. I mean, he took it. He made it his own. I loved him in this one. Just kind of liked him in the first one.
I think it's interesting that this is the first Star Trek is, 4 years old? And it seems like every character, whether it be Kirk or Spock or Uhura or Scotty, just picked up right where they left off.
Yeah, very much.
I mean, but there's also a little bit more level of maturity. They're also not newbies anymore. They've been around the block a little bit, so they're the exact same characters with just a little bit more refinement to them. And I thought they were all really, really good. I can't really think of a performance that I thought was bad that carried over from the first film.
Mm-hmm. Maybe Peter Weller was a little over the top as Admiral Marcus. I mean, he's a little over the top.
Mm-hmm.
But
flashing back to his 80s days. With the,
yeah. But outside of that, it was nothing that really took me out of the movie, though.
I mean, outside of Benedict Cumberbatch, I think if anybody really kind of stole the movie, it was Simon Pegg. I thought he was fantastic.
Now let's not leave Carl Urban out, though. He is so good as Bones.
He really is.
That I constantly was wishing he was more present in the film, because his performance is just so cantankerous, and that's exactly what Bones should be. But the guy I kind of felt bad for was John Cho. He fucking had nothing to do other than push the throttle forward a couple of times, and one scene where he actually got to speak for more than a couple of words, but he nailed that fucking
I was going to say, it was a pretty badass scene.
Honestly,
it is a pretty badass little scene.
That's most of the Trek movies, though. I mean, those guys take a back seat.
But yeah, I thought Zachary Quinto was fantastic. Great Spock. I liked him in the first one, but in this one, he nailed it really well, too. Lens flares aside, what did you guys think of
You can't put the lens flares aside because they're all up in your grill.
There was a lot less of them this time, man.
There was quite a few.
A lot less, but there were less.
They don't bother me. I've said it before. I'll say it again. They don't bother me. What did you guys think about the production quality on this, and whether it's the CGI, which was quite prevalent but might have been real, but overall, what did you guys think of the look of the film?
I thought it was pretty much exactly what I wanted. A really good mix of computer graphics and action.
Practical. That was the word I was looking for. Sorry, Scotty.
No, it's okay. The space, I saw it in IMAX 3D.
Lottie fucking da.
Well, I actually took a trip because this is a movie I was really looking forward to see. I went and saw it on the really big IMAX, and it was so worth it. It was so worth it. The 3D was a really good mix of depth 3D as well as some in-your-face 3D, but not overused by any means. It's exactly what I wanted in a Star Trek action movie. It was really good. What did you think?
Good special effects, strong score, and damn if the movie didn't keep me at attention the entire way through.
Yeah.
And the fact that he could do that, because, man, not many movies. Avengers was probably the last movie that had me on that much of a roller coaster, where I was like, yes, 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 yes. One scene took me out of it. I won't talk about it until the spoiler cast, but outside of that, it flowed perfect. Great summer movie.
The rhythm of it, the pace of it was pretty much really high the whole time. It really didn't drop down and get slow for the most part through the whole movie. So really kept my attention and everything.
I mean, it's a 2 hour and 13-minute movie, and sci-fi films are known for boring moments. This film had practically, for me, none. There was no fat in this film. And when I watched it the second time, I was with my brother who hadn't seen it yet. And I kept thinking, oh, wow, he thinks it's about to end. There is still more to go. There is still more to go. So, yeah, there are a few too many feelings of the rise and fall at the end, but it's pretty almost flawlessly paced. So, with all of that being said, what do you guys think of this movie? If someone were to say between $1 and $10, what would you pay to go see this movie?
Star Trek Into Darkness is pretty much exactly why I love to see summer films, and despite some distracting lens flares and a very minor story element that bugged me, it's a near-perfect film for me. I gave it a 9.50.
Ooh.
Brian, what did you think?
Thought it was fun. It was exciting, tense. Benedict Cumberbatch kicked some serious ass. Like I said, just kind of kept going like, it was over, but, it wasn't still too many lens flares, but I'm giving it an 8.5. It was a really fun ride.
This could have been a perfect movie for me, except for that one specific scene, which I'll talk about later. But still, most fun I've had in the theater so far this year, and beat the shit out of Iron Man 3 for me. 9 out of 10.
Yeah, for me, I was thrilled when I left the theater. As much as I liked the first one, I think this one upped the ante in just about every respect. I gave it a 10 out of 10, and I don't take that back from my written review. I'll stick with it. It is almost flawless in every conceivable way for me. I adored it.